All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barak Tehawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Genesis chapter 4. I was meditating on this chapter earlier, and just want to go through a few points in there and see, how far we can get into it, and just take it from there. Genesis, the 4th chapter, is a pretty straightforward chapter. Deals with Adam and Eve's sons, Abel and Cain, or Cain and Abel, and how Cain, being the first murderer, killed Abel because he was jealous of his sacrifice. So like I said, without further ado, let's get into it. Genesis 4:1, it says, "And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord." Now the name Adam comes from the Hebrew word Adama, which means ground. Deep, dark, rich soil of the ground of the earth. And that's why the Most High called his name Adam. Now there was a people known as the Adamites. When we go to the 5th chapter, Genesis 5:1, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that the powers created man, in the likeness of the powers made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day that they were created. So Adam was a man, but Adam was also the name of the people, that particular chosen people that the Lord set up at that time. So now the next name we have there is the name Eve. Now the name Eve is from the Hebrew word Chawa, which means farm, or it stems back to the word life. Because the seed, because when the Most High created the earth and he created the trees, he said that the trees were what the seed, let me just get that real quick. Can't think of the exact wording. Just bear with me. It's a little breezy, so I'm just Genesis chapter 1 verse 10. "And the powers called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And the powers saw that it was good. And the powers said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed," see, "and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And the power saw that it was good." And that's why in the law it states that you're not supposed to, when you farming your land, you're not supposed to farm seeds too close to each other, because they're not to mingle. So when we deal with Adam's seed, which is the life-giving force, the generating principle, the gene, the race, what gives the nationality of a child. When he impregnated Eve, Chawa, which goes back to the word farm, or Chaya, which is life, is where that seed, that is a child that will be born, whether male or female, depending on what the Lord decides, it's nourished in its mother's womb. So that's why he called Eve, because she's the mother of all living. Because after the flood, there were many people created before the flood, but after the flood, the people that were left on the earth were descendants of Adam and Eve. So you could understand. And then it said that going back to Genesis chapter 4, it says, and she conceived and bare Cain. Now the word Cain, or the name Cain, goes back to the Hebrew word Kwayan, which means weapon, but it's like a stabbing weapon, like a dagger or a spear, and that's fitting for Cain and that spirit that was in them, because when they would come back as Esau, the blessing that they received was what? The sword. And the sword is somewhat like a stabbing weapon too. You could put a bayonet on it. You could, when you shoot out of a gun and it pierces you, that's like stabbing you. When you get shot, you know, that bullet goes through you. When you get stabbed, you know, that knife goes in you. So the name Kwayan is fitting for Cain, because not only would it later be personified, in, for lack of better words, in Esau when they came back on the earth, but also he killed his brother Abel. So everything that we reading about in these names are given for certain purposes and certain reasons. Not like today. Today, you get namely the black woman, the Judite woman, she'll call her son's name all kind of crazy, or her daughter's name all kind of crazy names that don't mean anything. Or she could be calling her son or her daughter the devil. But just because it's different and it sounds good, they put that on them, and then the child turns out to be a demon, pretty much, you know? So names are very special and very important, you know? So it says, and she again bare his brother Abel. Now the word Abel goes to the Hebrew word Habal. When you go to the blue letter, it doesn't really break it down what Habal means, you know? It doesn't really break that down, what Habal means. But Habal means transitory. Transitory meaning here for a second and then gone. And that's what the name Abel means. And it was fitting. Why? Because Abel, when he was a young man, when it came time, his brother Cain killed him. So he was transitory. He was here for a moment and then gone back in the spirit world. Now we believe that Abel came back as Seth. I mean, there's no, you can't go into the Bible and say, thus Seth is Abel and Abel is Seth. But we believe in the spirit that he came back as Seth, because that spirit could have came right back down from the Most High to continue the line, that righteous line. Because remember, Abel didn't have any children at the time, you know? So it says, and she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. So Abel was a keeper of sheep, just like what? Jacob. And when you go into the Israelites, what were they known for? They were known as keepers of the sheep, shepherds. That's why the Egyptians, disdained shepherds, but that was the blessing that the Lord gave them. Just like Jacob. Jacob was a plain man, and they were learned in being shepherds. Now Esau, on the other hand, it says that Cain, on the other hand, was known as a tiller of the ground, meaning like they were like farmers. So it says, and in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. Now, why did Cain bring an offering of fruit unto the Lord? Because the law back then was oral. We had the law, but it was oral. It wasn't written or etched in stone until the time of Moses. That's when it was really etched in stone. But prior to that, it was a word of mouth, so to speak. All right. It says, and Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof, and the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. So why would, if they didn't have the law, why would the Lord have respect unto Abel's sacrifice and not unto Cain's, if they didn't have the law back then? The law was oral. The scriptures say, where there's no law, there's no sin. So the law was oral back then. So they did have the law, but it was in oral form. And that's why the Most High rejected Cain's offering, and he had respect to Abel's, because Abel did the right thing in bringing the firstlings of his flock. As to where Cain tried to be slick and bring the fruit. Most High don't want fruit for his sacrifice. He wanted animals. He wanted to smell their roasting flesh in the fire. It says, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. Why? Because Cain didn't bring the right sacrifice. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. So he was angry because the Most High had respect unto Abel and his offering, and didn't have respect unto him. So his countenance fell. So when his countenance fell, he wanted revenge. He wanted blood. Yeah, because that shows you that ties hand in hand with Esau, because it said, the Lord said of Esau, because it says thou hatest not blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Now let's go from there real quick. That was the 6th verse. Let's go from there real quick to the book of 1 John, the 3rd chapter. I'm not sure the verse, so just bear with me. Okay, let me go first. Let me go to I think it's 1 John, the 4th chapter. Right. Saint 1 John 4 and 20. It says, if a man say, I love the Most High, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love the Most High whom he hath not seen? And there's another one that says, he that hateth his brother is a murderer, or something like that. Let me see. If I'm not mistaken. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. You know what? Let's go to 1 John 3 and let's start at 12. It says, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. And whereof slew he him? Because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous. Now, it didn't say anything in Genesis, the 4th chapter, about Cain hating Abel. Okay? Keep that in mind. It says, marvel not, my brethren, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer. So who hated his brother? But when we read the scripture, it said that Esau hated Jacob. Esau hated him. That's why he wanted to kill him, because he supplanted him of his birthright. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer hath everlasting life abiding in him. And that's why part of what went down was the Most High caused Jacob to supplant Esau of his birthright, because that birthright belonged to Jacob anyway, even though he was a second born. Because the angel told Rebecca that the elder shall serve the younger. So really the younger one was going to have the greater inheritance over the older one. And the one that came off first was who? It was Esau. All right. So now let's go back to Genesis chapter 4 and verse 6. It says, and the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? So this is why the Most High rejected that wicked seed. You have this seed of the serpent. You have the seed of the wicked, which first came in through the serpent in the garden, which was an actual man, and then later came through Cain. And after the flood came and destroyed all the people on the earth, except for the 8 souls, then in process of time, that wicked spirit came back in through Esau and the Edomites. All right. So if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And they didn't do well. They can't do well, because they were created to be the wicked. And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And this is why sin is lying at their door, because they are the wicked. And unto thee shall he be his desire. So Satan would desire to serve you. It says, and thou shalt rule over him. But you're not going to rule over him, and your desire is going to be to do his will, because that's your daddy. Even though the Most High created you, you Edomites, your daddy, your obedience or your allegiance is to Satan. You see, that's what your desire is too. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? So you see how this devil operates? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. And they are a cursed people. The Lord said that they are the people of the Lord's curse. Let's get that real quick. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So they were cursed. The Lord cursed Cain, but that seed that was in Cain and his descendants is the same seed that is in Esau and his descendants. You know, and if you have spiritual eyes to see, you can make the correlation. You can put it together. You can put the puzzle together. So going back to Genesis 4 and 12, when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And when we look at the earth today, that this devil is ruling, the earth is not yielding what it used to, because this devil, the earth was cursed for their sake. And they do not know how to keep land Sabbath. Or should I say they know, but they won't do it because of their greed. So they won't allow a land to replenish their nutrients, and then they can rejuvenate the earth for a whole year and then go back to planting in it. They won't do that. Then it goes on to say, a fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And they are a fugitive because they are fleeing from justice. They have not been held accountable for all the wickedness that they've done. And a vagabond means a traveler. And they're all over the earth. The scriptures say, neither keepeth at home. You know? And they go all over the planet, all over the earth, conquering with what? With their sword, which is their blessing, and with their deception. It says, and Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face. And this is why Esau can't get it, because that same spirit that was in Cain is the same spirit in Esau. And the Most High drove that spirit from his face and his descendants, because that is the wicked seed. And that's why Esau cannot attain to righteousness, because they were wired in the spirit to do wickedness. It's the same thing. Cain, Esau, the serpent, Cain and Esau. It says, and from thy face shall I be hid, and they're hid from the face of the Lord. The Most High is not dealing with these Edomites, which are really the same as the Cainites. Not Canaanites, the Cainites, descendants of Cain, which died after the flood, but they came back through Esau, that wicked seed. Because there is a such thing as the children of the wicked on the planet. Let's go real quick to the book of Matthew 13 and 38. It says, the field is the world, the good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. So you have children of the wicked one, which are these Edomites today. All right, so let's read this again. Genesis 4:14. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And that mark was leprosy. And that's why if you kill an Edomite, what happens? You do time. You do serious time. But if you kill a Jake, you don't do as much time, because that's like a force field, so to speak, that the Lord has around these devils, because they were created to be the wicked, and they're going to be the wicked, and they're going to accomplish what the Most High made them to accomplish. But in the kingdom of heaven, they're going to have to pay, because right now they're fugitives from justice, you know, especially the things that they've done against the nation of Israel. But in the kingdom, they're going to have to pay. Jeremiah 49:12, for thus saith the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. So we drank of that cup, the cup of slavery, the cup of heartache, the cup of hell, pretty much. It says, and art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. So you will drink of it. your vagabond fugitive days are numbered. So it goes on to say, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And the word Nod goes back to the Hebrew word Nawad, which means to wander. All right, a wanderer, which ties in with vagabond, a wanderer. You know, so it said on the east of Eden. So they went further on in Eden to the east, and they wandered off. It wasn't an actual land. It was to wander. They wandered about from the garden, and they went eastward. It says, and Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. Now this is heavy, because from this point on, from the 17th verse down, this is giving you the seed of the wicked. Cain's first son was named Enoch. Now we know that there is a righteous Enoch that came through the line of Adam to our Faxad, through our Faxad. But then you have this Enoch that came out of the line of Cain, and he was wicked. So does that mean because Enoch had the name Enoch that he used to be connected with the Enoch of Cain? No. Because when we read the next chapter, the 5th chapter, that's speaking about the sons of God. And you had an Enoch there. So when you have these individuals trying to tie Job to somebody named Jobab, which that's not his name, and they're trying to tie him to the Edomites, that's total nonsense. A name does not determine your nationality. You had a lot of different Hebrew names back then that were common names among all the nations back then, and they all used those names. So just because you had an Israelite by the name of Elam, I believe, does that mean he's an Elamite? No, he just happened to have that name Elam. You had another individual by the name of Obed Edom, servant of Edom. Does that mean he was an Edomite? No, that was just his name. You had the Israelites during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes that would call themselves Antiochians. Did that make them Edomites? No. You had some Israelites that were called Herodians. Were they descendants of Esau? No. They just happened to take on that name. So a name does not distinguish your nationality. So we're reading about the seed of the serpent, or the wicked descendants, or the wicked back just before the flood. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch, and he builded a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mahujael, and Mahujael begot Methusael, and Methusael begot Lamech. Now there was another Lamech in the righteous line of Israel. Does that make him related to Cain? No. Does that mean he's of the line of Cain? No. That does not make them of the same lineage or the same line. They were separated. Remember, the Most High, when we go to Isaac and Rebekah, the Most High had Jacob and Esau, and he said out of those there was going to be two separate nations among those two. He was going to separate those two nations, because out of those two, the Most High was making a choice for the seed that he had promised Abraham back in Genesis the 12th chapter. Okay? So it does, just because you have the same name as somebody does not mean that you come from their same lineage. And you could even be related to that person, such as Jacob and Esau, but Esau was the wicked and Jacob was the righteous. All right, so it goes on to say, verse 19, and Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah, and Ada bare Jabal, and he was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. So you had, these are more descendants of the wicked. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was a father of such as handled the harp and organ. So you had Edomites back then that could play certain instruments, the harp and the organ. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal Cain. Now Tubal Cain is a Hebrew word. I forget how to say. I think it's Thawabal, if I'm not mistaken. Thawabal Kwayan. which the word thawabah means to travel, and Cain is weapon. So traveling weapon, which what should that bring to mind? Mercenaries. Because these mercenaries, it fits the prophecy, even though these descendants were destroyed after the flood, but remember they came back through Esau, Edom. And Esau and Edom is the one that has these mercenaries going around the world, taking over people's shit. All right? It says, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. So he was a metal worker. And that's funny because this is a part of Esau's blessing, but that wouldn't come till later. It says, and the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah, and Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son and called his name Seth. And we believe that that's Abel coming back. And the word Seth is, I think it was Sayath. I can't remember the exact Hebrew word. And they were saying that it meant compensation, which I would have to look it up, further and research it. Matter of fact, I got my red Bible here. Let me see what it says in the red Bible. Because when he had it, when she had hit this son, she said that the Most High compensated her, for the loss of Abel. Just bear with me 1 second. So the word or the name Seth, let's see if this has anything under the proper names. Set, appointed. So it's saying set or appointed. And another place it was saying compensation. So he was appointed. All right. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son and called his name Seth. For the Most High said, she hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the earth. So from the 25th verse down into the next chapter, now we're starting to read about the sons of God. So when we read the 5th chapter, that was dealing with the sons of God. Okay? The sons of the power, the sons of the Most High, which later will become known as the Israelites. These are the sons that the Most High spoke about that went into the children, the daughters of the children of men. This is what it's talking about. It wasn't talking about no angels, no fallen angels, none of that crap that they teach in these bugged out religions. All right? It was the sons of Adam through Seth, on down. You had Methuselah, you had Enoch, you had all them different names, Enos, Seth, and all that. That was the line. Through their line, that's who went and dealt with those daughters of men that fell from their great estate. That's what that meant. But prior to that, before that, all of that, above that was dealing with the seed of the serpent or the wicked. And then it says that then began men to call upon the name of the Lord, and the name Lord is in all caps. So the word there would be Yahweh. So even back then they were calling on the name Yahweh. You have this thing where they read Exodus 6 and 3, and they said that when the Most High said, by my name Yahweh was I not known to them. But when you go to the Hebrew there, the Hebrew, when you break it down, it means not well known. So the name was known because it was being used. There was altars erected to that name. Men were calling on that name back then, but it wasn't well known until the deliverance from Egypt. All right? So that's been Genesis, the 4th chapter breakdown. With that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.